Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in to my super chat. Thank you so very much. You help me do these live streams, and you help me remain an independent voice, and I thank you very much for your support via super chat. My Patreon is below for people who want to support my voice long term, and thank you very, very much. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, two best moderators in all of YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, 2016, nobody believed me. I was viewed as this horrible person for saying that Clinton would lose swing states. NPR quoted me. I said in 2015, Madam Secretary was unelectable because she would lose swing states. Nobody believed me. Now I'm telling you that Hillary Clinton is the only chance they have. There is no Bernie 2016. Bernie 2016 was perhaps a fantasy that was never real. Perhaps it was just a, who knows what Bernie 2016 was. But it turned out to be not a movement, but a giant bowel movement. But ladies and gentlemen, if you look, it's like I can't catch a break here, because in 2016 I said she ain't going to win. And NPR quoted me, the link is below, and people said, oh my God, what's wrong with you? You're wrong. She's going to win in a landslide. I said, no. Now, this year, Biden's the nominee, and I guess it's not going to happen, HA. I am on my way to making the biggest political call of all time, 2 straight elections, and I'll get the election right this time around, too. President Trump's going to win. I've been saying that for 4 years. And all the pollsters that said Clinton would win Texas in 2016 are saying Trump is going to lose miserably. They'll be wrong. I'll be right, but I will be right about something that's just going to be the biggest call of all time. Now, let me tell you something. Hillary Clinton in 2020 is the only chance they have. They would have actually won with Bernie Sanders in 2016, Democrats. I would have been right about that, but thank God President Trump won. Reversing U.S. foreign policy, that makes him a stellar human being, the most moral president we've ever had. They talk about personality and character and integrity. President Trump has a greater grasp of morality. He has more integrity. He has more character than Bush, President Obama, although I give President Obama a lot of credit for the historic nature of his presidency. Being the first black president in the United States of America in our history, I give him a great deal of credit. But destroying Libya shows that this man's character, not very good. You don't just destroy a country and turn it into a failed state and then say, oh, well, you know what, that was my biggest mistake. Usually a mistake is you forget your car keys, or you regret saying something mean, not actually obliterating a country to where there's now human beings being bought and sold because of your failed NATO intervention that was conducted under the pretext of saving lives, which cost infinitely more lives and more mayhem and chaos, and helped destabilize the region in terms of because of a whole lot of issues that I can't really even get into on YouTube live streams. Let's just say the movement of human beings throughout that region was tremendously negatively impacted. People who wanted to leave the region and save themselves and their families, tremendously negative impact from President Obama's foreign policy. Not to mention the fact that they still have civil unrest and chaos in Libya because of the smart power of Clinton, President Obama, and Biden. So there's so much emphasis now on character, and okay, I'd rather have Trump's character. I'd rather have his grasp of foreign policy. Reversing U.S. foreign policy. President Obama did not did not sign a deal to get us out of America's longest-running military conflict. President Trump did. So I'll take Trump's character in late February, early March to get us out of America's longest-running military conflict, military intervention, to set the groundwork to bring Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts that Democrats simply believe are just like Germany and Japan, that we just have to be there forever. And that's not the case. And he didn't just get us out of one region. He's getting us out of numerous countries. And this is a reversal of U.S. foreign policy. So I'll take Trump's character flaws and his character in aggregate, and his grasp of morality and his personality. Oh my God, I'll take Trump. Just first president to reverse U.S. foreign policy the past 20 years, the Bush and President Obama foreign policy, but also first president to sign an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. We had record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment, and then when the disingenuous, dishonest, deceitful pundits or voices on the left saying, oh, look at the economy. Well, who do you think is shutting down the economy? Genius. You think it's Trump or Republican governors? Some. But Republicans generally, and Trump in particular, wants to open up the economy. Wanted to open up the economy a long time ago. So the Democrats say, no, we have to keep the economies, keep state economies shut down. Then they say, oh my God, look at the food lines. And then they say, oh my God, we have to deal with American history when they've been focusing on impeaching Trump. And then the pandemic, well, oh my God, look at Trump's response to the pandemic. The pandemic, half of the lives lost and half of the cases are in around 7 to 8 Democratic-run states. Go look at the New York Times. Not you, HA. I'm the horrible person, a Republican. No, you're great, Agent Pepsi. You're awesome. Thank you, Agent Pepsi. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Hillary Clinton is the only chance they have. And she's waiting for, or whatever, Madam Secretary, her team, who have been, I look at their, I don't have Twitter. If you see anyone impersonating me on Twitter, I have this, one person who obsesses over me, apparently, and, watches all my live streams and all my uploads and reads my every article I've ever written, and pretends to be me on Twitter. Please go ahead and report that profile on Twitter, because they're breaking the law. But this is 2017 by Philip Rucker, The Washington Post. I'm not making this up. I'm telling you. I know it seems like I've lost my marbles. Agent Pepsi, everyone here, I know it seems like I've lost my marbles. Like I'm one fry short of a Happy Meal. But I'm trying to tell you, Mike Cavallero! Retired generals talk about using military to remove Trump if he refuses to leave after the election. Planned constitutional crisis or military coup. Perhaps a little of both. It's kind of interesting, though. The notion, Mike, the notion that they're trying to perpetuate this absurd notion that he wouldn't leave. It's the retired generals are defending America from our greatest threat, the president. Okay, this is written by Max Boot. This is the man, Max Boot and Bill Kristol and the Lincoln Project people are the reason we've been in never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts where hundreds of thousands of American soldiers have had to deal with traumatic brain injuries. And over 1 million of the 2.5 million Americans, men and women who've served in our counterinsurgency conflicts the past 20 years have been injured in some way. And we have thousands upon thousands who have lost their lives. And we have families and lives who have been altered forever because of the Max Boot, Bill Kristol, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Clinton, Biden, President Obama foreign policy. Kerry foreign policy. President Obama with Libya, you can definitely say with Libya. He actually campaigned on calling the Bush-Cheney-Rumsfeld foreign policy illegal. But here, this is a great article, and I'm on my way to making the biggest political call of all time. Mike, thank you so very much. Donna Brazil, I considered replacing Clinton with Biden as 2016 Democratic nominee. This was after the nomination had been cemented. This was, of course, because of an incident in New York during the memorial. This was on September. This was like around September 12th, 13th. Donna Brazil got calls from everybody from Martin O'Malley to Bernie Sanders. Hey, just wondering, who are you thinking of? So Donna Brazil, I consider replacing Clinton with Biden as 2016 Democratic nominee by Philip Rucker, November 4th, 2017. And this is a segment, and there's not just one article, there's numerous articles. Whenever Brazil got frustrated with Clinton aides, she writes, she would remind them the DNC charter empowered her to initiate the replacement of the nominee. I'm going to read you this because there's a method to the madness. Mike and Agent Pepsi and everyone here, there's a method to the madness. It's not just, I haven't just been saying this because I find it so beautiful and amazing that Clinton is their best candidate. Because let's put it this way. The past 4 years of American history has been how can we level the playing field so that people will elect Madam Secretary, the first female president, and everything from Russian interference to Trump being a horrible human being and the pandemic being Trump's fault. It's not. I don't think that this is not to elect Biden, who's not even trying. And we'll get to the plagiarism in a second, or in a couple of minutes. But I'm telling you, we have until September 29th, September 26th or 29th for the debates. One of the debates, September 1st presidential debate is September 29th. Okay, we got time, people. We got time. It ain't over until the right nominee takes control of this political party that's a complete and utter joke and disaster. The biggest joke in all of political history is the 2020 Democratic Party. Even though there's nobody. Okay, I can go on forever, but here I want to read you this. This is important. And you can look up, this is the article right here, people. You can look it up yourselves. I'll send it to you right now. Here's the article. Here's the article right here. It's a Washington Post article written in 2017 by Philip Rucker. Okay, I'm not, and all they need, ladies and gentlemen, is a meeting. They don't need a calamity, God forbid. I want Biden to live a long and happy life. He's a great human being. He's done a lot for the world. But here it is again. Washington Post. Very important. Washington Post. Philip Rucker, November 4th, 2017. Donna Brazil, I consider replacing Clinton with Biden as 2016 Democratic nominee. Now, let's get to... Whenever Brazil got frustrated with Clinton's aides, she writes, she would remind them that the DNC charter empowered her to initiate the replacement of the nominee. If a nominee became, for whatever reason, not viable, let's just say, I don't even use the word, but if a nominee was not viable for whatever reason, she explains, the party chair could oversee a complicated process of filing the vacancy that would include a meeting of a full DNC. Tom Perez is infinitely more loyal to President Obama and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton than Donna Brazil ever was. Donna Brazil actually had autonomy to let's put it this way, she was much more honest than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or at least she was more autonomous. So she had more integrity, and when she wrote her book, that showed a lot more integrity. But she's of course she was still part of the same whole, entire charade. So after the Clinton incident, I'm not even going to get into it, but the incident in September of 2016, some Democratic insiders were abuzz with talk of replacing her. And Brazil says she was giving it considerable thought. The morning of September 12th, Brazil got a call from Biden's chief of staff saying the vice president wanted to speak with her. She recalls thinking, gee, I wonder what he wanted to talk to me about. Jeff Weaver, campaign manager for Senator Bernie Sanders, called too to set up a call with his boss. And former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley sent her an email. So, again and again, I thought, so here we go. Again and again, I thought about Joe Biden, Brazil writes, but she adds, no matter my doubts and my fears about the election, and Hillary as candidate, I could not make good on the threat to replace her. So, it is not only feasible and possible, there's no way that Biden is even trying to win the election. He's now accused of plagiarism. Every single thing that takes place, from here until the first debate is going to make Democrats think. They are going to lose with Biden. At the end of the day, this channel, along with like 5 or 6 or maybe 10 or 12 channels in all of YouTube, are going to enjoy, they're going to be the places to be. We're going to have the most epic live streams. We're going to have the most epic uploads when President Trump wins again. If it's Biden, he defeats Biden easily. If it's Hillary Clinton, which it will be eventually, and I will have made the biggest political call of all time in calling this 4 years prior, then she could make it quite close. She could make it very close. The DNC is a political machine. It has nothing to do with meritocracy. They're going to eventually look and say, okay, we cannot win with Biden. The charade is over. People are saying, ladies and gentlemen, when you're saying that the best thing about Biden was that he was able to perform a speech, when your rebuttal is, well, you see, there's no mental impairment, huh? I think you look pretty silly now. When you're proud that your candidate can recite a speech, and after all the gaffes and you have to understand, the gaffes of Biden, they're not just gaffes, but the constant, absurd, bizarre, weird statements, like he's running for Senate and he thinks Arizona's a city and all of these things. They're not covered. Media does not cover them. It's almost like they never happened. When Biden insults Black and African American voters, immediately his insult is swept under the rug, covered up. You better talk about nuance. Oh my God, Trump is worse. Look what Trump has done. It's like, you can harp on the pandemic all you like, Democrats, but it's not Trump's fault. You wouldn't have done anything differently. President Obama's administration depleted all the masks. That's you can look up the fact check. So we had a shortage of masks before President Trump was even elected. And President Trump is not the governor of New York. He doesn't have jurisdiction over New York or New York City. You can't tell de Blasio what to do in his city. It's like a basic understanding of civics. The federal government cannot tell a state how to run unless the state is breaking federal law. Other than that, you can't decide how a governor or a mayor runs their city and state. This is why this is a fact. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Pennsylvania, these states have the most unemployment and the most cases of the pandemic and lives lost. The pandemic is hitting Democratic-run states more so than any other states, and it's about 7 to 8 have around about half. 7 to 8 Democratic-run states have half of the lives lost and half of the cases. That's why they can't look at the aggregate numbers, and they have to slice everything up between, cases increased, between, yesterday and today. They don't tell you where these cases, they don't tell you in aggregate which states are doing the worst. In terms of aggregate numbers, Florida and Texas have more people than New York and have a fraction, I shouldn't say tiny, but a fraction of the lives lost in cases. So it's not about population. It's about how Democrats run these locations. And you look at this Washington Post article. Does anyone realize that they have more than enough time to continue the charade with Biden? I find it very difficult to believe that they would knowingly lose an election. And I find it very difficult to believe that Hillary Clinton really wanted Trump to become a good president, like she said at the DNC. And I meant it. I really mean that. I meant it. I wanted him to be a good president. And I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Was this before or after you purchased the Steele dossier to set up and frame Trump? Look, at the end of the day, it's like I've covered this enough. We need to have the AFC champion and the NFC champion, because this is actually hurting the Democratic Party, for a generation. The longer they go with this, nobody is convinced that Biden can that nobody in America would let Biden drive their car, much less if they go with him, Trump could even win the popular vote. And the popular vote is tough to win when you have the entire United States media against you. So, when Biden insults African American and black voters, 40 million people, nobody cares because, well, you know what? You have to understand, he didn't really mean it. And, Trump is bad. Trump is horrible. Old school dad, man. Party in November will be epic. Great week of information. Thanks, HA. Old school dad, man. Thank you. Old school dad, man. Thank you so very, very much. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. Old school dad, man, as always. As always, old school dad, man. But here, we'll read it again. This is an article from Philip Rucker. Donna Brazil, I consider replacing Clinton with Biden as 2016 Democratic nominee. So there's a plagiarism scandal. Let's say he says another disparaging thing about the most important voting base within the Democratic Party. Let's say he calls Arizona a city like he did before. Let's say he says he's running for Senate. Let's say he meanders off into Never Never Land with some kind of bizarre story or cornflakes. Let's say he talks about beating up cornflakes again. Let's say he talks about his leg hairs. I don't see nothing wrong with rubbing Joe Biden leg hair down. That's that's a inside joke on this channel, but when you hear him talking about his leg hairs, it's like he's so into it, and it's very bizarre. and it's just really weird. And then they say he's a decent human being. Nobody even believes this. Tara Reid. And he has a litany of people. Well, Trump has more people. So what? I believe Tara Reid. People, you can actually, which one is it? You believe all allegations or you believe some? I believe Tara Reid primarily because of the 1993 Larry King call-in. When you have 20 people saying, oh, Trump did this. It could have happened, but very likely, Tara Reid is telling the absolute truth because there's a Larry King call-in where her mom is saying, yeah, had to, it was a really traumatic thing, and, my daughter had to leave, and she worked for a prominent senator. You can't make this up. And then they say, well, this story was corroborated. This is how they say, well, a story was, it's not like there's no, like, if there's a history, a pattern of using your, political authority over others, if there's alcohol involved, if there's a money trail or whatever. Yeah, you should give the benefit of the doubt or believe, or give a platform for people to voice what happened to them. But I've always stated, you can never know for sure. You can't, if your vantage point is believe because of corroboration, third party, a third party says we've I heard this story. Well then, Larry King calling. You can't go back in time. You can get people to lie for you, but you can't go back in time. Luke St. Martin! My goodness, Luke St. Martin, thank you very much. I appreciate all your help, Luke St. Martin, and thank you. Super chat shout out from all of us Texans. Texas loves you, buddy. Luke St. Martin, not only an amazing moderator with Eric H526, great supporter of this channel. Texas is fantastic, and I love Texas. It's awesome. It is awesome. Great people, great state, great food, great football. Although the University of Texas hurt me badly, but that's another story. Luke St. Martin! Luke St. Martin, thank you very, very, very much. Thank you very much for just being an amazing moderator. And thank you. Go Cowboys. Luke St. Martin, thank you so very, very, very much, as always. Luke St. Martin and Eric H526 and everybody here, I'll continue. So we look, and in her first few days on the job, Brazil writes that she also discovered the DNC was $2 million in debt, and the payroll was stacked with sycophants. For instance, Wasserman Schultz kept two consulting firms, each on $25,000 a month retainer, and one of President Obama's pollsters was being paid $180,000 a year. This is what they do. For strategic consulting, these political action committees of Democratic Party, it's very lucrative. They hook up their friends. They hook up people they know. It's about networking. You have a political strategy firm. You get hooked up with $25,000 a month. 25 each with $25,000 a month. They needed two consulting firms to lose the election for $25,000 a month. And they were already $2 million in debt, DNC? You mean to tell me, and Biden can't raise $2 on his own? What is he going to say? I say, man, come on, man, give me some money. I can defeat cornflakes again. Come on, man. So, I think that they're waiting. They have to be, because otherwise they'll lose miserably. They have to be waiting for the last second. This way, and Luke St. Martin, thank you again. This way, Clinton, all they need is a meeting. Tom Perez and all the top DNC officials saying, look, you know what? Our polling shows, internal polling shows that Latino and black voters do not want or aren't voting for Biden. They did a lot better with Clinton, and they'll do a lot better with Clinton. Females, women will do a lot better with Clinton. Look, at the end of the day, they could say, she could be the first female president. And we'll do it all over again. And, you have to, the United States, the only way to, to really to exercise the demons of our political system is to do it again. Have the country do it again. Do it to me one more time. Just do it again, like Lionel Richie. Do it again. Got Clinton, Trump again. The Biden Trump is it ain't working. Agent Pepsi won. Texas is the best. Texas rules, and you need to move to Texas or Mississippi, as I am a Texan by choice, but still a Mississippi girl at heart. Agent Pepsi won. I think for the Second Amendment laws, I can have a bigger arsenal than I already have. Thank you, Agent Pepsi won. Thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Agent Pepsi won. Luke St. Martin, thank you. But then you have... So we'll read that segment again. Whenever Brazil got frustrated with Clinton's aide, she writes, she would remind them that the DNC charter empowered her to initiate the replacement of the nominee. If a nominee became disabled, I don't want to say that word, but here she explains the party chair would oversee a complicated process of filling the vacancy that would include a meeting of the full DNC. This is by Philip Rucker. So why can't they just go with the better candidate? Why can't they simply have a meeting and say, look, the field organizers in Florida for the Hispanic outreach in Florida are saying that they wrote a scathing letter, and this was in the Miami Herald that said, Biden is suppressing the vote in Florida. Okay, so there goes 29 electoral college votes. I mean, they're not going to win Florida anyway, but they can come close with Clinton. What have they done for Biden thus far, aside from prop up Weekend at Biden's, the 2020 nomination? Does anyone believe that this man wants to win? Of course nobody believes, because it's the biggest charade of all time, and there's only one person that's been calling it for 4 years. I either have some egg on my face regarding Clinton being nominee, and then just wipe the egg off, and then just like pop open a bottle of champagne and just wipe the egg off with the bottle of with the flowing champagne when President Trump wins, goes 8 years and decimates and obliterates the Biden in debates and on November 3rd, or oh my God, it's the biggest political call of all time, in addition to President Trump winning, because Clinton can't defeat Trump, but she can get close enough. She can get close enough to where they could cheat. I know the way they think. That's why they're focusing on mail-in ballots, so they can just cheat again. They cheated Bernie Sanders. They cheated with a South Philly judge that got caught for stuffing ballots. Okay, they cheated their own primary in Iowa. Had 100,000 ballots rejected in California. So they cheated in 2016 again in New York with Bernie Sanders. J-Man, Biden's speech plagiarized. They're trying to lose. Exactly. Well, Luke St. Martin, thank you again, Luke. Thank you very, very much. Go Texas. Go Cowboys. My favorite team's the Raiders, but I like the Cowboys a lot. My cousin's favorite team is the Cowboys. When you look at this is a great article. This is a really, really great article in 2008 in Slate. And the more that things are unraveling, they're unraveling in almost like it's uncanny way, almost exactly the way I've been saying. Now, I never said, but I never said, this would happen, that would happen, plagiarism, him calling, him insulting voters and Biden doing this and that. No, but it's slowly unraveling and something's going on. Something's fishy. You can't trust people that cheat all the time. At a certain point, you should expect them to cheat. If you don't expect Democrats to have something up their sleeve, the issue is not with me or the Democratic Party. The issue is with the person that believes that, everything's just, normal. But here, the right stuff. This is 2008, August 25th, 2008, by David Greenberg. Why Biden's plagiarism shouldn't be forgotten. 2008. Teachers and scholars consider the unattributed use of someone else's work and ideas to be a very serious offense, but the public doesn't seem to mind much, at least when it comes to politics. The incidents of plagiarism and fabrication that forced Joe Biden to quit the 1988 presidential race have drawn little comment since his selection as Barack Obama's vice presidential running mate, just as revelations of plagiarism by Stephen. In 1987, before Biden quit the race, he called the incidents a tempest in a teapot. Although most reporters disagreed then, at least enough to pursue the story, they seem now, perhaps jaded by 2 decades of scandal-mongering, to have come around to Biden's view. But Biden's exit from the 1998 race is worth recalling in detail because his transgressions far exceeded Obama's own relatively innocent lifting of rhetorical set pieces from his friend Deval Patrick, which occasioned a brief flap last February. Biden's misdeeds encompassed numerous self-aggrandizing thefts, misstatements, and exaggerations that seemed to point to a serious character defect. In some ways, the 1988 campaign, in which scandal forced not just Biden but also Gary Hart from the race, marked a watershed in the absurd gotcha politics that have since marred our politics and punditry. It's only gotten worse since 08. But unlike Hart's plight, Biden's can't be blamed on an overly intrusive or hectoring press corps. The press was right to dig into this one. So this is the man they're going to galvanize 65 million votes. You think they're going to get 65 million votes with this man? They would need a repeat of the popular vote. You think there are that many people who forgot that we had record low unemployment? Because we had record low unemployment. When the pandemic hit, the response to the pandemic is the reason we have food lines. Not Trump's response. The wonderful scientists and the Democratic governors and mayors that were extremely eager to keep the economy tanked forever. You can look back at this pandemic and say, gee, was there ever a middle ground where we could have a functioning economy and still save lives and be safe? Because, it's like cases are still, piling up. Would there have been infinitely more cases had the economy been functioning with the same precautions? Because you had people protesting, millions of people, and you had people, millions in lines, or hundreds of thousands in lines to vote in Arizona, Illinois, Florida, and Wisconsin. So it's like when Democrats want something, whether it's protests or voting in their primaries, they get it. Even during the pandemic, when they kind of like, oh gosh, we just can't have the economies open up. You can't have state economies, back to normal. It's for your own good. Well, but protesting's okay? How does that work? But voting in the rain is okay? So, in the 1988 race, Biden began as a long shot. So he couldn't win in 88. He couldn't win in 2008. And do you really think he's going to win in 2020? The man has never gotten close to the presidency, ever. Nobody has ever wanted Biden as president. The only reason he won the primaries because Democrats waited in the rain, got drenched, got pelted by hail, simply to ensure they wouldn't get Medicare for all, because they had a choice, Bernie Sanders or Biden. And Wisconsin is like a liberal state, and still people voted only for Biden, who would veto Medicare for all. But here, let's continue. In the 1998 race, Biden began as a long shot, but after Hart dropped out in May 1987 over the exposure of his affair with Donna Rice, none of the remaining 7 dwarves. The 7 dwarves in the Democratic field pulled away from the pack. Biden's youth and vitality, that's funny, as well as his tutelage by the pollster consultant, considered a veritable magician by insiders, made him a decent bet to reach the front of the pack. Over the summer, rival campaigns of Michael Dukakis and Dick Gephardt became concerned as Biden ticked upward in the polls. Biden's downfall began when his aides alerted him to a videotape of the British Labour Party leader, Neil Kinnock, who had run unsuccessfully against Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. The tape showed Kinnock delivering a powerful speech about his rise from humble roots. Taken by the performance, Biden adapted it for his own stump speech. Biden, after all, was the son of a car salesman, a working-class kid made good. Kinnock material fit with the story he was trying to sell. At first, Biden would credit Kinnock when he quoted him, but at some point he failed to offer the attribution. Biden maintained that he lapsed only once. To tell you the truth, I don't even think this is that big of a deal, because everybody, the world, you could find millions of people who have humble beginnings and then become politicians or business owners or whatever. But I think it's the way that the uncanny. The similar way, that the almost identical way that he described his life in the same way that Kinnock described his own life. So Biden maintained that he lapsed only once at a debate at the Iowa State Fair on August 23rd when cameras recorded it, but Maureen Dowd of the New York Times reported 2 incidents of non-attribution, and no one kept track exactly of every time Biden used the Kinnock bit. Click here for examples of Biden's lifting. So, of course, you can't reach that page. What is certain is that Biden didn't simply borrow the sort of boilerplate that counts as common currency in political discourse. Phrases like fighting for working families. What he borrowed was Kinnock's life. Biden lifted Kinnock's precise turns of phrases and his sequences of ideas. They're not even trying. Can you please just make the switch already? Everyone believes. It's fair. It's a fair primary. Fair. Everything's fair. Even I'll say it now. The Russians hacked the DNC. Fine, I believe it. I believe you. You've broken me. You've broken me. I'll believe anything. Just make the switch so I can make the biggest political call of all time. Anything you want. Qualified. Oh, the most qualified. This is better than Thomas Jefferson. Oh, yeah. Anything you want, Democrats. I'll believe anything. I'm voting for President Trump, but I'll roll with anything you say. Just make the switch. Everyone believes now Democrats have a fair primary. They never cheat. It was the Russians who cheated, and Bernie Sanders was never cheated, but the Russians showed us that he was cheated, but really it was just embarrassing. He was never cheated. Everything's fine. Just go with the best candidate that you have. Okay? Go with the best candidate that you have already. Enough of the charade. So here, Luke St. Martin, thank you. So Biden's Biden lifted Kinnock's precise turns of phrase and his sequence of ideas, a degree of plagiarism that would qualify any student for failure, if not expulsion from school. But the even greater sin was to borrow biographical facts from Kinnock that, although true about Kinnock, didn't apply to Biden. Wow. Unlike Kinnock, Biden wasn't the first person in his family history to attend college, as he asserted, nor were his ancestors coal miners, as he claimed when he used Kinnock's words. Wow. Wow. Once exposed, Biden's campaign team managed to come up with the so this is actually far worse than I thought. Once exposed, Biden's campaign team managed to come up with a great-grandfather who had been a mining engineer, but he hardly fit the candidate's description of one who would come up after 12 hours and play football. At any rate, Biden had delivered his offending remarks with an introduction that clearly implied he had come up with them himself and that they pertained to his own life. So the man has been a weasel for a long time. He literally pretended to be someone else. That's how Democrats do things. They pretend to be people they're not. Because if they look in the mirror, they have to deal with reality. Miller Chillmore! I'm visiting Florida now. Things are practically business as usual, and cases have been going down since July. Media completely silent on declining cases, so everyone thinks it's Mad Max down here. Miller Chillmore. Yeah, Eric H526 lives in Florida as well. It's unbelievable, too, because in California, I mean, the restaurants aren't open. I mean, you can only go to a restaurant if it's if there's outside seating, but there's no inside seating. Miller Chillmore, thank you so very much. Thank you for your generosity. And Luke St. Martin, thank you for your generosity as well. Yeah, I mean, Miller Chillmore, of course, media does not want, they don't want to give an accurate description. And Florida has a fraction of the cases and more people than New York. So it has a greater population than New York and New Jersey, but a fraction of the cases. Morpheus, HA 2024, thank you, Morpheus. Thank you very much. Thank you, Morpheus. Thank you. Go Dallas Stars. All right. Luke St. Martin, I didn't see that. Nice. Miller Chillmore, thank you again. So check it out. This is really interesting. So he really did. I mean, the plagiarism was it wasn't just a tiny amount of plagiarism. It was like serious intellectual theft. Like you are pretending to be somebody you are not. You are just pretending to be somebody you're not. And this was in 1988. I mean, the man hasn't changed. I remember also Biden. This was in a documentary, Bigger, Faster, Stronger, and they have a clip of Biden when he's talking. He does his routine always, like he's talking about performance PEDs, and he's like. You know, these are the type of, and he tries to use a bad word. These are the type of people I want to take and, you know, beat him up behind the stands or like something like that. You know, something weird like that. Like, you know, he didn't really mean it, but he tried to. His whole shtick has always been like, I'm just like the every person, like, you know, just a working class person like everyone else. Like, yeah, you're a politician. Politicians aren't working class people. They're just not. You get hooked up big time. That's why when you were on the Council on Foreign Relations, you said a whole bunch of awesome things. But then you have Miller Chillmore, thank you again. Then you have most American political reporters who are not so attuned to Britain's politics that they recognize Kinnock's words. But Michael Dukakis' advisor, John Sasso, had seen the Kinnock tape. Without his boss's knowledge or consent, he prepared a video juxtaposing the two men's speeches and got it into the hands of Dowd at the Times. and David Yipson at Des Moines Register and NBC News. When the story broke on September 12th, Biden was gearing up to chair the Supreme Court nomination hearing for Robert Bork. Biden angrily denied having done anything wrong and urged the press to chase after the political rival who had sent out what came to be called the attack video. Unfortunately for Biden, more revelations of plagiarism followed, distracting him from the Bork hearings. Over the next days, it emerged that Biden had lifted significant portions of speeches from Robert Kennedy and Hubert Humphrey. From Kennedy, he took 4 long sentences in one case and 2 memorable sentences in another. In one account, Biden said that Pat Caddell had inserted them in a speech without Biden's knowledge. In another account, the failure to credit RFK was chalked up to the hasty cutting and pasting that went into the speech. For Humphrey, the hot passage was particularly affecting appeal for government to help the neediest. Yet another uncited borrowing came from John F. Kennedy. So, if it wasn't bad enough, Biden admitted the next day that while in law school, he had received an F for a course because he had plagiarized 5 pages from a published article in a term that he submitted. Wow. So he got an F. He got an F in law school, and then he keeps plagiarizing. All right. He admitted as well that he had falsely stated the British Labour official Dennis Healy had given him the Kinnock tape. Healy had denied the claim. And Biden conceded that he had exaggerated another matter by stating in a speech some years earlier that he had joined sit-ins to desegregate restaurants and movie theaters and was thus actively involved in the civil rights movement. He protested. His press secretary clarified to desegregate one restaurant and one movie theater. The latter of the 2 fibs were small potatoes by any reckoning, but the context of the other acts of dishonesty they helped to form. But in the context of the other acts of dishonesty, they helped form a bigger picture. So, from these disclosures, Biden remained unbowed. I'm in the race to stay. I'm in the race to win, and here I come, he declared. That meant, of course, that his days were numbered. Newsweek soon reported on a C-SPAN video from the previous April that showed Biden berating a heckler at a campaign stop. He's always fighting. He's always arguing with people. Then they say, oh, he's such a decent man. He's such a good man. Oh, such a good man. Sigma U, UCLA. Sigma Nu, UCLA. Party time. The 10 cases of stellar twine. The sisters have tried out the mask will be banned. This inhibits inmate human contact. Hello, Sigma Nu, UCLA. Hello, Sigma Nu, UCLA. Luke St. Martin. I hope all is well, Sigma Nu. I hope all is well. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your support and your generosity. And Sigma Nu, UCLA. It'll definitely be a party when Clinton announces, and definitely, November 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Thank you. Thank you. Sigma Nu UCLA. Thank you very, very much. Jay Bamhart. Jay Bamhart. I think you're right about Hillary. I've been preaching it for 3 years because of UHA. It ain't over till the fact. Jay Bamhart. Thank you first and foremost for your support and for representing. And thank you very, very much. I'm in it with you, brother. Thank you very, very much. And I think something's up. I know something's up. I don't know 100%, but I can't imagine Jay and Sigma Nu UCLA and Luke St. Martin. I can't imagine that they're going to willingly lose when you have the Durham probe that just indicted Kleinsmith. And all roads lead to Madam Secretary and Bill. I think we should stop the charade right now, and I think you should probably enter the race. All they don't need a calamity, God forbid. All they need is a meeting. They can switch to Clinton 2 articles in the Washington Post, New York Times, a couple pundits on CNN, MSNBC. It takes literally 2 or 3 days to alter the minds of like 40 million Democrats who are like a hardcore base of support for Clinton. And it doesn't take long. Clinton has the gravitas, she has the base of support, she has the money. She only lost by 70,000 votes, and the Russians cheated her. So, let's just roll. We'll roll with everything they say. Sigma Nu UCLA, thank you. Trump's going to win anyway, but it's going to be closer with Clinton. But I will have made the biggest play. And you too, Jay Bamhart. I'm telling you, we will have both made the biggest political prediction of all time. Thank you, Jay, very, very much for representing. Thank you. I appreciate that. Chad W. Kennedy. Mail-in ballots were part of a plot to deny Lincoln re-election in 1864. I'm going to have to look that up. Thank you. Chad W. Kennedy, thank you very, very much. I am going to look that up. Chad W. Kennedy. You know what? Democrats, they haven't changed. I appreciate that. I'm going to look that up. Thank you very, very much. Chad W. Kennedy, thank you. Climb BMX, H.A. Hillary's angel. Climb BMX, thank you. Thank you, Climb BMX. Thank you very, very, very much. Let's continue. Climb BMX. Thank you very much. As always, Climb, thank you for always, for your support always on this channel. If that wasn't bad enough, Biden admitted the next day that while in law school, he had received an F for a course because he had plagiarized 5 pages from a published article in a term paper that he had submitted. 5 pages? Did he just photocopy the 5 pages? He admitted as well that he falsely stated the British Labour official Dennis Healey. That's funny. I just read this, but I'm reading it again, and it's making more sense now. He admitted as well that he had falsely stated that British Labour official Dennis Healey had given him the Kinnock tape. Healey had denied the claim, and Biden conceded that he exaggerated in another matter by stating in his speech some years earlier that he had joined sit-ins. So I read about this, yeah. So I just read this segment. So here. For all these disclosures, Biden remained unbowed. I think I probably have a much higher IQ than you do. I suspect Biden sniped at the voters. So he was insulting voters. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship. This man has always been a sleazy slimeball. And Democrats, so he's a good, decent man. It's like, yeah, but you're also tied to destroying a country in Libya. So, and you voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. And you never did anything in your life that was transformative. From every single thing that Biden has ever done has been basically following the prevailing sentiment within the Democratic Party during the time period, like the prevailing sentiment of the Democratic Party during whichever time period you're talking about. So it's not like he ever, and like none of these people have ever really stuck out. They've all just like gone with the flow, and then they try to like remake their. Clinton is. We can go in. Clinton, Biden, Kerry, all of these people. They all voted for Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's foreign policy, and then they all pushed for the intervention in Libya. And then they all had the same comments on immigration as President Trump. They're chameleons, and then they have the media help them pretend that they're something they're not. But here, the guy is still going after voters, whether he's calling them a dog-faced pony soldier or yelling at them at a car manufacturing plant, or if he's saying, I think I have a problem, I think I have a much higher IQ than you do. Anyone who says that is like the biggest tool on the planet. I went to a law school on a full academic scholarship. Yeah, you plagiarized 5 pages in a term paper. That's usually enough to kick you out of the school, much less, a suspension. That claim was false, as was another claim made in the same rant that he graduated in the top of his law school class. Biden wrongly stated, too, that he'd earned 3 undergraduate degrees, when in fact he earned 1, a double major in history and political science. Another round of press inquiries followed, and Biden finally withdrew from the race on September 23rd. The sheer number and extent, this is hilarious, the sheer number and extent of Biden's fibs, distortions, plagiarisms stuck many observers at the time as worrisome, to say the least. While a media feeding frenzy, a term popularized in the 1988 campaign, always creates an unseemly air of hysteria, Biden deserves the scrutiny he received. Quitting the race was the right thing to do. So there you go. There you go. And then you have Slate. This is hilarious. Do you think, this is a civic science poll, do you think the nearly all virtual style of a Democratic convention has permanently changed the way national political conventions will be conducted going into the future? Why? Because it was so horrible, people would want to continue. It was so utterly horrible and pathetic that people would want to, they would want low viewership. It makes no sense. Fisher, man, can't wait for a Halloween H. Ankle Festus live stream. Fisher, man, hello. So, the sheer number and extent of Biden's fibs, distortions, and plagiarisms struck many observers at the time as worrisome, to say the least. While a media frenzy, a term, always creates an unseemly air of hysteria, Biden deserves the scrutiny he received. This is Slate, by the way. This is Slate. This is a liberal, the left-leaning publication. They can't stand Trump. They cannot stand Trump. And you mean to tell me that, see, they were very, very, Fisher of Men, thank you. The way they're operating this year is they're operating the following manner. In that was a Slate article from 2008. So all of these, 12 years ago, 20 plus years ago, no, 30 we're going on 1988. He was forced out. He was forced out of the presidential election, 32 years ago. There's never been a movement to get Biden anywhere other than senator, and then he was chosen as vice president because he's an amiable career politician. He always had the I can have a beer with you type personality. That's why he feels you can get in people's faces. He can get in your face and he could tell you off because he's just like that person. He's just like that uncle you have who tells you the truth. Mad Cow Mark! Where are you, Mad Cow Mark? Mad Cow Mark! Remember, if Clinton doesn't run, that very well might be the case. Mad Cow Mark. And Mad Cow Mark, I think that I look at the past 4 years of U.S. history. And look, there are people who will accept without any question the notion. They will accept without any question the notion of Russian interference without explaining to you how they interfered. They'll say things like Facebook ads, but then they won't explain the Facebook ads. They'll say things like Twitter bots, but they won't tell you, okay, well, which Twitter bots? They'll say Cambridge Analytica, and they won't explain, okay, They simply regurgitate. It's like a trained reaction, like it's like an instinctual reaction to losing. And they are the biggest sore losers of all time. Just the biggest sore losers of all time. It's like, it's pretty unbelievable. I mean, it really is pretty unbelievable. But you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where we have not, this does not look or feel or have the same electricity of an election. And what happened in 2016 is they came out with this data that said millions of people decided to vote for Trump within 2 weeks of the election or a week before the election. Well, that had in large part to do with Comey, because what Comey did was he covered up initially the Clinton email server fiasco that progressives on the left were too cowardly to even touch, because they would then be seen as helping Republicans, which is exactly why they get stomped on and humiliated by the Democratic Party all the time, because they're afraid to actually go and investigate the biggest scandals within the Democratic Party, and then their version of of trying to change the Democratic Party from within is, don't sound like, try to call them out, but don't talk about certain issues like Clinton's email servers with top secret intel, because if you do, you might sound like H.A. Badman, or you might sound like, Tucker Carlson, or you might sound like Sean Hannity, or you might sound like a Republican. So, and this is how they label people on the left who sound. They're like, there's a limit as to what you can talk about, and that, and then they say, well, we're going to change the Democratic Party from within and make sure that they allow us to have a Medicare for all bill, or they give us Medicare for all. And it's like, that's not the way political parties change. Political parties only change because of leverage, because they're forced to change. And the only way you would force change is to focus on real big issues, scandals, controversies, like a criminal investigation that the FBI covered up. Well, of course, we didn't know they were covering it up back then. But you have these people who made a ton of money, who said vote for Clinton, and then they said, oh, you know what? Well, we'll change the Democratic Party from within, and we'll make sure that they, implement a Medicare for all, or pass a Medicare for all bill. But it doesn't work that way. What they should really do is simply join the Green Party. Zero Manny, thank you. Thank you, Zero Manny. I didn't see that. Thank you, Zero Manny. Thank you. Simon Hathaway Spurlock. Only HSC and Major can get the amount of votes needed to be too close to call. Exactly. That is their plan. I'm convinced in Northern Haters. Thank you so very much, Simon Hathaway Spurlock. I agree with you. Simon Hathaway Spurlock, I agree with you. Clinton is the only chance they have. The fact that I'm saying this is kind of hilarious when I spent all throughout 2016 saying Clinton couldn't win. She still can't win, but she can get it very close. She could possibly win. Biden has zero chance to win. Simon, thank you very, very, very much. Thank you, Simon. Greatly appreciated. But what I was trying to say is, you have people who you have pundits who have always been the biggest grifters of all time on the left. I'm not going to tell you their names, but these are the people who are just edgy enough to be seen as a threat to the Democratic Party, but not edgy enough to get a hit piece by the Daily Beast or Raw Story or anyone else. And they have a nice, comfortable middle ground in telling you to vote for Clinton in 2016. Basically, the $20 million venture capital pundit people who start political action committees with the name Democrats in those names, and don't treat the Democratic Party the way the Democratic Party would treat Bernie Sanders. For example, if Bernie had top secret intel on servers, you better believe they would have accused Bernie Sanders of not only criminal acts, and they would definitely have said that Bernie's going to prison and all that. I've never stated that Clinton is going to prison or be even arrested. I said indicted for crimes of putting top secret intel on servers. But that was a long time ago. You know what? I take all of that back. It really, all of that is irrelevant now. That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for people to just be so done with this election that the mere amusement of Clinton becoming the nominee, eventually replacing Biden, would be enough to overshadow. Like they're basically going to be begging for Clinton because Biden is so god awful and boring. At this point right now, not only does paint watch Joe Biden try, but it's like, does this even seem like an election? But what they do, and Simon, thank you so very much. What they've done is, you have a whole lot of people on the left who just will not. You have a whole lot of people on the left who just will absolutely refuse to talk about the biggest controversies that surround Democrats in the same manner that Democrats would talk about if Bernie Sanders had those controversies. That's what I'm trying to say. And they're so indebted to the Democratic Party. They're so, I should say, their loyalty and allegiance is so transparent, and it's just part of being like fashionable or acceptable. It's not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable to talk about the servers with top secret intel or classified data. It wasn't acceptable to speculate whether Clinton would be indicted. It wasn't acceptable because these people are cowardly and they're the biggest grifters of all time. And they said vote for Clinton knowing Bernie was cheated. You can't find more cowardly people on the left. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't take courage to throw a brick or to hurt somebody or to, it doesn't really take courage that much to talk about the servers or, any other scandal. But it takes a certain amount of integrity that the left lacks. If you said vote for Clinton in 2016 and you don't say vote for Clinton in 2020, you'll have me to contend with, because I'll be watching. Trust me, I'll be watching. And all the Never Biden people, I'll be watching you, who then say I'll vote for Clinton. Doesn't matter. I don't care at the end of the day. Just make it Clinton versus Trump, and I will have made the biggest political call of all time. Tom Perez, come on, we're waiting. What are you waiting for, Mr. Perez? Everyone knows. Look, the entire left knows, because I used to be on that side. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. The left is not convinced anymore. They don't even think that Biden is trying. They know that he's not even trying. They know that he's not even trying. Doug F610 with USPS in a plan to head disarray, and timely counting of votes is not certain. The Trump must declare himself emperor before Nancy. No, Doug F610. Let me tell you something. If they have to recount, let's say what's the percentage? Let's say 20 to 30 million ballots. Let's see how many voted absentee 2016. Millions of Americans 2016 will vote early absentee. More than 4 million Americans. The number of voting in non-traditional could top 50 million. So in 2012, more than 46 million cast ballots in some manner. So let's say 50 million voters they'll count all 50 million ballots again. And then we'll go through the signatures and see if there's fraud. Because Trump's not going to play around. And then if there's fraud, the Democrats will be outed again. And you know what? They already cheated Bernie Sanders. So they're not going to win. It has to be close enough because absentee ballots usually favor Republicans. Or they did with Trump in a whole bunch of states. Doug F610, I don't even think it gets close with Biden. But with Clinton, it could get very close, which is what's going to happen. It's going to be Clinton. It ain't going to be Biden. Hillary Clinton is the only chance they have. Sigma Nu UCLA. Go to Google search and pick any 3 numbers and type new cases and see the results. All fake. Sigma Nu UCLA. Thank you. Thank you, Sigma Nu UCLA. UCLA. Sigma Nu UCLA. Thank you very, very much. You're one of the few Bruins that I really admire, and I just want to thank you. I've known a lot of great people from UCLA, but I just want to thank you very, very much. Sigma Nu UCLA, thank you. Simon Hathaway Spurlock. Eric H526, you always thank you for always helping with Super Chat. Yes. Eric H526 is fantastic. He really is. Luke St. Martin, thank you again for your support and generosity. And yeah, Luke St. Martin is fantastic. They're the 2 best moderators in all of YouTube. And Simon, it's true, you know, and Sigma Nu UCLA and everyone here and Doug F610. When you start your YouTube channels, everyone, and if you, whatever, I think whatever your passion is or whatever you're interested in, if you start a YouTube channel and you start doing live streams, you're going to need good moderators. If you don't have good moderators, my chat is like a finely tuned machine. Like, it's awesome. Any hater or troll is immediately dealt with. Oftentimes, even before Luke St. Martin or Quick Draw Luke St. Martin or Eric H526, the regulator. I have Quick Draw Luke and the regulator Eric H526. The trolls are dealt with even before they get to the moderators, and the moderators lay down the law. But it's important. You gotta have good moderators. Otherwise, because almost most of the time I'm just focused on talking, and sometimes I'll look at the chat and see what's going on. Eric H526 has he has a YouTube channel. In fact, I want everyone to subscribe to Eric. Give us your YouTube channel again. Give us your YouTube channel again, Eric. You know what? I haven't. Let's get Eric to 1,000 subs, people. He needs many, many, many subs, but let's get him to 1,000 subs. Let's get Eric H526 to 1,000 subs. He has 500 already. But here's his channel. Exactly. There's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together. This is a man who's plagiarized so much that and it's like you don't have speechwriters at that point. How hard is it to get speechwriters? I don't get it, but anyway. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. My God Almighty, it's just a matter of time. They simply do not need some type of, God forbid, horrific calamity. They could just go ahead and have a meeting and say, look, it ain't working out. He said something else. We found it, we found whatever. Who knows what we found? Whatever. Who knows what he's done? Who cares? It's not even. Who even cares how it goes down? I don't care. There's no way they're going with Biden. He's not even trying. The man is not even trying. The man is not even trying. Doug F610. You know they were going to name the Washington Emperor, but he chose president instead. Exactly. Doug F610. We've had a peaceful transition of power. We have had a peaceful transition of power every year from Washington until President Obama gave the White House to President Trump. That was not a peaceful transition of power. That was certainly not a peaceful transition of power. So, and they're going to lose again, and then they're going to the interesting thing is, Trump did pretty well in absentee voting. So, let's see. Trump might have won three states in 2016 solely on the strength of Republican absentee voting. This is the Washington Post. So he'll do well. He did well in 2016. The notion that, let's see. If you look, let's look at how did Trump do with the absentee vote in 2016. Trump might have won 3 states in 2016 solely. Okay, so then they keep saying, "Oh, his hypocrisy." No, nobody trusts you to count the votes, Democrats. If it's an all mail-in, they claimed, "Oh, well, we have to fund the postal service. You can't vote in a pandemic." But you did during your primaries. You had 4 primaries where people voted in person. What's the problem? Let's look at registered. Okay, so Arizona registered voters early absentee vote by party. So Trump won the absentee vote in Arizona. In the 2016 presidential primaries, the presidential primaries. Okay, so he had more people vote for him in the presidential primaries through absentee ballots than Clinton did. You know what? I will find before the next live stream how Trump did in terms of the absentee vote, and I think he did well. Alex Allen! Won't the DNC be happy to let Biden lose so they can claim Trump? They can blame Trump for crashing the economy over the coming years, which it will. Alex, I think the economy will rebound, but I don't think that they have too much at stake in terms of. I think they have just too much at stake in terms of losing potentially or keeping the Senate in Republican control. Because, if they go with Biden, that's zero enthusiasm for the Senate. Zero. I mean, if Republicans keep control of the Senate, that's potentially a third. Potentially. It's like what Comey says, potentially a third Supreme Court justice that Trump picks. So I don't think, then you have the Durham probe. I mean, you have too much at stake. Then you have donors. Then you have a generation of Democrats who'll say, F this. We don't need, Democrats have nobody. They have nobody even waiting in the wings. They have nobody who they can call and say, this person is, the next, the heir apparent. They don't have anyone who they can. I mean, that's going to hurt them for a generation. I just think that, that would hurt them for a generation in terms of voting. Because 2024 would be a lost cause for them. Alex, thank you so very, very much. Alex, thank you. Thank you for your generosity, Alex. Mad Cow Mark! You could thank me later. Eric H526. I was the first person to ask HA to make Eric a mod. Mad Cow Mark. That was, well, first I want to thank you. I want to thank you now. Mad Cow Mark, thank you as always. That must have been a long, long time ago. And so you've been watching for a long time, and I appreciate that, Mad Cow Mark. I appreciate that. To my Australian crew, thank you so much. I have a very, very wonderful, amazing, strong base of viewers in Australia. I'm very proud of that, and I'm very thankful. Also in the UK and Canada, thank you. Nepal, New Zealand, thank you. Mad Cow Mark, thank you so very, very much. And Eric H526 is the man. Luke St. Martin is the man. William R. Abrams III. Me and the Mrs. and Mr. Tiny are watching you from Arizona right now. We're keeping it red, dude. Hello. Hello. William R. Abrams and the Mrs. and Mr. Tiny. Hello. It must be hot there. Well, what's the weather like in Arizona right now? Let's see. Phoenix weather. I don't know if you live in Phoenix, but 96 degrees. Whoa, 110, 113. Oh my God. Yeah, it's gotten that hot here, but that's hot. That is hot. So, people, it's not only feasible. I'm going to roll into this because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Matthew, hello. It doesn't make any sense. He has another plagiarism scandal now. Trump is already tied with him in polls or narrowing down the polls, and what they're hoping for is they're saying, look, the data shows that people decided to vote for Trump or Clinton a week or 2 weeks before the election. Mad Cow Mark, give Mr. Tiny a treat and a hug from us all. Mad Cow Mark, you're awesome. You are awesome. Let's see, hold on. William R. Abrams III, where are you? Where's William R. Abrams III? Oh yeah, William R. Abrams III, please give Mr. Tiny a treat. And this is compliments of Mad Cow Mark in Australia. Thank you so very much, Mad Cow Mark. William, Mr. Tiny, you're owed a treat. William, thank you. And Mad Cow Mark, thank you very, very, very much. As always, Mad Cow Mark, thank you. There's no way that they're serious with Biden. I'm not falling for it. And there's a lot of things that don't make any sense. 3 days before, 3 days before George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, in a blue state, blue city. Biden deliberately tanked his campaign by saying, well, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't comment. Michael Lee, I don't know. I think what's going to happen is you'll have a series of gaffes, controversies, minor issues, and they'll build up to perhaps a bigger one that the media just says, oh my God, we can't ignore this. Then Tom Perez and the DNC will have a meeting. Then they'll beg Madam Secretary. So after an hour and a half in, going on 2 hours, I'll tell you, all they have to do is say, please, 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 Madam Secretary, we need you. Biden streaked down Pennsylvania Avenue naked, and there's no way we can't spin this. You want me? You want me to run? What? I was just relaxing. I don't even... Me? Okay, fine. Let's do it. 50 points ahead. It'll be the biggest political call of all time because I never stopped. I wrote in 2017, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. It's going to happen, people. Otherwise, President Trump... Matthew, they haven't printed out the ballots yet. So they will in September. So then who knows? I mean, then it could be too late. But then they could say, well, you know what? We'll just do. If you voted for Biden, that really means you voted for Clinton. I mean, who knows? Or maybe they'll reprint ballots again. I mean, who knows the media will cover for Democrats no matter what. No matter what. So. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. If they have any hope of winning, they're going to go with Clinton. I think I'm predicting they're going to go with Clinton because there's no way they go with Biden for the debates and on November 3rd. They'd get absolutely crushed. With Clinton, they could possibly win if President Trump falls for any traps. Trump would still defeat Clinton, but it would be much closer. And it would save the Democrats from a generational issue. A generation of voters would lose respect and interest in the Democratic Party with Biden on November 3rd because he would get obliterated by Trump. And that means 4 years of Democratic, the most apoplectic, seething, fuming, disgruntled political party of all time. That means 4 years they will have wasted, blaming Russia for Facebook ads that nobody saw. So they're going to go with Clinton. It's just a matter of time. And all they need, ladies and gentlemen, is a simple meeting. A simple meeting from Tom Perez saying, gosh, the polls, we need Madam Secretary. Give me your thoughts below, everyone. Luke St. Martin, thank you again, Luke. Eric H526, thank you as always. Gentlemen, thank you. To my super chat, thank you so very, very, very much. Luke, thank you again. Eric, thank you as always for all your amazing work. People, it's happening. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. If you want to be part of a mailing list, it's a newsletter. It's Contact Goodman 78. It's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for a great live stream.